listening to Zap Night, a video game review podcast, with your hosts, Danny and Kaylie. Hey guys, and welcome to episode 27 for Zap Night. I'm your host, Danny.
And I'm your co-host, Kaylie.
So, we finally beat Final Fantasy III.
Yay! I'm sorry.
We literally just beat Final Fantasy III.
It's 2 in the morning.
It is 2 in the morning, yeah. And we've been up, we've been playing some Thrift Shop games, we've been beating Final Fantasy, so... What
happened?
Yeah, what was the biggest holdup, do you think?
Well...
Lack of interest?
Partially lack of interest. A little bit of misunderstanding on my part, which I can talk about later, but... Yeah, it's just... I don't know.
I totally had the lack of interest too, and I was sitting down and dedicating time to play this game, and I still found myself just like bored.
Yeah.
Which is sad for a Final Fantasy game. So let's go ahead and dig in. I mean, there's no point in beating around the bush. This Final Fantasy III was developed by Square, and it was released on the Nintendo originally in Japan only. And then that was in 1990. And then in 2005, it was re-released on the Nintendo DS worldwide. And apparently, the problem was that Final Fantasy III never made it to the North America regions because the Super Nintendo was already about to launch. And they didn't want another big name Final Fantasy game coming out that wasn't going to be on the Super Nintendo. So instead of Final Fantasy III, the US and other regions got Final Fantasy III as... Well, we got Final Fantasy II on the Super Nintendo, which was actually Final Fantasy IV. And then we got Final Fantasy III later as Final Fantasy VI. So it's super confusing. But know that as we're talking about this game, this is the original Final Fantasy III Japan version that was re-released on the DS. So that's the game that we are talking about. We both played it on the DS. We don't have any means of playing it on the Nintendo.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some ROM hacks out there where we could have played it, but I would rather play what the developers intended me to play for this version of this game. So with that said, let's talk about the story as best we can. Now, the story is kind of blah, and
it's vague. It's blah.
It's
and
very
it's
much
so quickly glossed over.
Yeah,
almost.
yeah. It's very much like Final Fantasy 1.
Yeah.
How it's kind of like, here's the overall story, and you do a bunch of fetch quests until you make it to the end. That's how I thought.
It has a little more story than 1.
Yeah, but only a little bit. It was almost like a sequel to 1.
Yeah.
That's how I saw it as. It was like a sequel to 1. And really, we haven't even started the story yet, but really, I mean, even in the way that some of the characters talked about the story, they reference like how there were previous warriors defending the crystals. So it's almost like they're referencing the first game. So it's like Final Fantasy 1 was, the Final Fantasy 1, and then 2 was just like nothing, and then 3 was the sequel to 1. Yeah. It's really how it seemed like to me. So anyway, we'll kind of gloss over the game a little bit. It starts off where Lunith falls down a cave after an earthquake, and he's met with a crystal who tells him to collect the other 3 warriors of light.
By the way, I didn't notice that he fell down a cave. It just seems like he just all of a sudden was in this random place. Like your character was just there.
Yeah, but it seems like there's an opening sequence where he like falls into the cave, see. Like the very first couple seconds. I don't
even remember this.
Anyway, he's in this cave and he meets with a crystal. The crystal says to find the 3 others to have all 4 of the crystal warriors
of light.
Yeah, they were warriors of light. He goes and collects them all, and they go back to the crystal, and the crystal bestows power upon all of them to be able to change jobs. I don't know why that's... I mean, I wear multiple hats at work. I don't know why that needs to be...
It's the old-time dress spheres, okay?
Yeah, it is. So anyway, the crystal bestows powers on them, and they're able to change their job titles and do different stuff. And their focus, their job, is to collect the remaining power from the other 3 crystals and banish the darkness from the world. So, an overall of the world story, there are 4 light crystals and 4 dark crystals, and they have to be in harmony. If any one gets out of balance, then you have a problem, and the crystals summon warriors of either dark or light to balance it back out. So in this story, we have the 4 warriors of light, but later in the game, they reference the 4 warriors of dark, which in the past of this world had previously banished lightness from the world to balance it back out. So that comes into play later. So the 4 warriors go off in search of the crystals. They find all the crystals, and along the way they find Doga, right?
Doga, yes.
One of the 3 mages
of Noah.
Of Noah.
Of the great magus Noah. The great magus Noah has these 3 students. He has Doga, Une, I'm butchering these names, I'm sorry,
sure.
and Xande. And they're like his disciples. And he grants them these different powers. So I believe Xande is given mortality.
Well, what kind of power is that?
I don't know, and
surprise! You can die now.
I felt like that he would have explained it too, but I don't feel like they might have. But
I do remember him talking about it, and I think that he was upset that was his gift.
Well, obviously, everyone else got all this cool stuff.
Yeah,
Doga, I believe, was given the knowledge and ability to work like high-level magic.
Yeah,
and Doga is given control over the dream world, just complete control over it.
Doga.
Yes,
no,
I believe
the other one.
Une?
Yes.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah. So yeah, you run into Une in a dream sequence, who tells you to go find Doga, and he tells you to wake up Une because she's in the sleep world, and then you both have to go, and then all of you have to go and find Xande. And Xande is like trying to bring back, or he's trying to stop time ultimately to avoid his death, but in doing so, he's
calling
the darkness, and the darkness is taking over the world and freezing time. So in you bestowing power from the crystals, you reactivate time, which then everyone in the mainland world is able to you're able to interact with them again or something.
Well, it's like covered in this thick, dense...
Yeah.
I don't know if it's fog or... It's almost water, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, it kind of was. Like, your ship was able to float on it.
I know, it was the Flood of Darkness. I believe that's what it was called. So it was like a little bit of column A, column B.
Yeah, I guess.
They didn't just... None of this was very well... explained.
Yeah, it was between the two of us, we kind of got an overall understanding of what the story is, but there's a lot going on that they kind of glazed over and didn't explain a whole lot of. Like, at some point, you find out that Sid rescued the 4 warriors of light, and they're all orphans.
I caught that.
I don't know why
Sid rescued them all.
I don't know why he didn't take care of them after rescuing them, and why he distribute the 4 across the continent, the floating continent. I don't know what that's all about.
Didn't really. They all were within.
Yeah, but I mean,
2 of them were in the same.
Ingus didn't know either of them, and Ruffia, she was just the daughter of a blacksmith. So I mean,
but she was in a neighboring town.
Well, yeah, you're right,
and they all were neighboring each other.
But it's not like they knew each other. Again, it was kind of glazed over. Their history is glazed over.
They're here's a storyline, kind of.
All right, so in any case, let's finish the story here. Xande is the bad guy calling on the darkness, And if your job is to clear the darkness from the land, then obviously Xande is getting in your way. So you got to take Xande down. You make it to the Crystal Tower, where you confront the Cloud of Darkness. And this is after getting all the crystals light power. When you're in the tower, the Crystal Tower, you have to talk to all 4 of the dark crystals, and the previous dark warriors of light then help aid you in attacking the Cloud of Darkness. And the Cloud of Darkness is... It's funny because they don't really reference it as a being until the very end. And then the very end, it's like, yeah, it's gotten too strong. We have to fight it. So, yeah.
Well, I think it was supposed to be... the Cloud of Darkness didn't technically exist. Or maybe it did. I don't know. But it wasn't a problem until Xande made it a problem.
Yeah.
And really, Xande was initially your enemy, but he, in turn, was being controlled by this Cloud of Darkness he had brought on. So now, he's no longer your main focus, but the Cloud of Darkness that he's created.
Right. So the team defeats the Cloud of Darkness, the world goes back into balance, and everyone lives happily ever after.
And that's literally how it went.
I mean, there's a handful of like side quests and side stories. I mean, the typical Final Fantasy thing where you die and all of your friends have to come and bring you back to life sort of thing happens. Yeah, really. So, a few notes about the story. It definitely was better towards the end. Like, the very beginning, I was bored. Out of my mind, I was bored. Like, it was... After you made it off the continent, the story picked up. But on the continent, it's so, like, it just drags. And you're just doing, like, random stuff for no reason. And I didn't like it.
Yeah. I hated the character backgrounds and development. Like, they're just... At least, I have it marked down as good as at least it was there. There was an attempt made.
Yeah, that's true.
But it was so bad. I think the only thing I'll give him credit for is that the bad guy, at least there was a better excuse. Because I felt like the 1 and 2's bad guy was just kind of there because, yeah. The first bad guy, it seemed like there was no good reason. The second bad guy was kind of similar to this.
You know, I have to say, the Cloud of Darkness as a final boss makes way more sense than some of the other Final Fantasies. And because I've played all the Final Fantasies. Right. I mean, obviously now I'm playing a few of them over again. But in a lot of other Final Fantasies, your ultimate bad guy is like the same. In this case, it would have been normally Xande. Right. But because Xande is being controlled by a different entity, you actually have to fight the different entity. So, like, you know, you kind of have that hierarchy that you're fighting. Right. Even though Xande is the bad guy throughout the whole game, there's like this twist of, nope, it's not Xande, it's actually the Cloud of Darkness, which I kind of appreciated. Instead of just surprise, you know, Xande's a super mega being who's trying to be God, you know, which is what half the other Final Fantasies are. So I kind of appreciated that. I really liked the Dark Crystals, like, quest at the end. Yeah. I really appreciated that. I don't know, I guess in comparing to other Final Fantasy games, which isn't exactly fair, but it kind of is, it's always focused on the light aspect of it, where I like how this focused on the balance of the two.
I agree. I was going to mention that too, that you got to focus on the darkness, not necessarily that darkness was bad, but that it was a balance.
But yeah, that's exactly it. Like, you don't have to...
You can't have all light, you have to have...
You have to have that balance of the two, and I really, really, really liked that. That was probably the highlight of the game, and you had to get through the whole game to get to it. Some other bad stuff, again, it was so much like Final Fantasy 1, I kind of thought it was a sequel, like we talked before. Just the way that it references stuff from the past, and the way that you have to do the crystal collecting thing, and even kind of the layout of the land was very similar to Final Fantasy 1. Yeah. Like, I really feel like that was their intention not that was
a spin-off, but maybe.
like it wasn't made that way like publicly known as, yes, it is a sequel to 1, but
Right.
it really felt like a sequel to 1. And obviously the very small amount of backstory to pretty much everyone. To the main character specifically. Like, really, I think you get more backstory on Sid than you do with any of the other ones.
Just about anyone. Like, seriously,
Yeah.
they shelled out a lot more. I mean, the bad guy, his character, like the characters helping support his story had more characters than your main characters. That
I had
makes
more
no
character
sense.
development, well, story background. Yeah, I was thinking even that girl. I can't remember.
Arya, the girl in white,
No,
princess.
No. The girl whose boyfriend is like the guardian of the mountain.
Her name.
But I mean, even she has more backstory.
I know.
Like, it's just. Which, by the way, she spends the entire game crying over this guy.
I know. Still better.
So I gave it a 5 out of 10.
I gave it a 5 out of 10. It was there. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good.
Right? Yeah.
Like, well,
I'll give it a 5. I guess. Like, I don't.
Definitely not.
I didn't
memorable.
hate the story. I just really didn't care for it.
It was not memorable at all.
Yeah.
I mean, trying to recall this information that literally happened just an hour ago. It's like.
My thing is, a Final Fantasy game is the story. And if the story sucks in a Final Fantasy game, guess what? The Final Fantasy game kind of sucks. So that's kind of where we're heading. So let's talk about the gameplay. The intro video is awesome.
Yeah, it's really good.
It is so cool, and those like 3D rendered graphics, they're all pre-rendered. The little intro video is so cool, and it kind of gives you the visuals as you're playing the game of what these characters look like while they're out exploring. However, those visuals, you never see them again.
I know. This is your biggest beef with this game, is that it's all in chibi.
Yes.
And it's cute.
Yeah.
This is my problem with handheld platform games. If it's a serious game,
it's just Nintendo.
To me though, and it's not, I mean, I guess it is, but to me, if you're playing a handheld game, I just...
Okay.
I don't feel like these types of games, for one thing, belong as chibi, but I don't like them. I don't like my RPGs like this. Like, it can't be like that on a handheld.
This game needs to be more serious, and I think to make them more serious, they need to not look as so cute. And that's my biggest beef with it, is that they look really cute, and they're really, their artwork is really good. I mean, overall, it's a good looking game. I just don't like the art style. Like, I don't like the direction that they went. Now, when you look at it's a newer game, but Final Fantasy Explorers.
2005.
No, I'm talking about Explorers for a second.
Oh, okay.
I've played Final Fantasy Explorers. It's a newer game. And all they did to make them not chibi is to just stretch them out a little bit.
Yeah.
I think they could have done that on this game and had them not look so little.
Their faces were even that cutie type of it's just too... I mean, people died in this game, and they're just like...
Yeah.
And, they did the same thing. You know how everyone died in, I think, 2? And they just bowed their heads? That's essentially what happened in this, too.
Like, well, they're gone. Dead. Moving on.
I don't know. I'm awfully picky, especially about handheld games. And if the graphics and stuff don't collide, I'm completely turned off.
I understand that they're limited on size, especially when you're talking about older handheld games. I mean, this game is over 10 years old, so I mean, I understand that they're limited on size. However, there are small things that could have been done to have made it a little better. That said, I mean, there are still a few good points. The intro video, again, was awesome. The characters, they do change their expression from time to time. And I kind of like that. They showed some, they were stock, like, expressions, and everyone kind of did the same ones.
They were very expressive, though. Their body language.
And that was it.
Whoa.
Like, they swayed a little bit when they moved, and it was nice.
I liked their movements, especially, like, at the end of battle and stuff, they'd all be...
dancing
cute.
a little bit. I liked that all of the outfits were unique.
Yeah, definitely.
And all of the weapons were unique.
Well, and the weapons not so much, but the outfits even were unique to the character because there's always a little bit of something different.
Right. And that's what I mean by unique. That not just each job, but each job and each person had a different like style to the job. Like, the Black Mage, where Refia was wearing, like, she had a big bow in her head.
Yeah.
Just little things that kind of changed them up a little bit to make them more unique than just they all looked the same Black Mage,
I liked the Crystal Tower. Like, that last dungeon-ish, like, in that area anyway. They had the stairs and the different platforms and different levels you could see reflected on the lower level. Because, like that huge circle area, or you could see where I thought that was really cool. I thought they did a really good job on that. I think that was the Crystal Tower.
Yeah, it was.
The Circus Tower. They had like 2 names for it. Did you know that?
I did notice that.
I thought that was weird.
There was summons in this game.
Yeah, I didn't do the summons.
I think this was the first game to have summons. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is the first game to include summons. And the summons were cool, but they had no animation to them.
Oh, really? I didn't even see them.
I went and I collected as many of them as I could. I think I missed Leviathan. I think he was the only one I didn't find. But I collected all of them. They all are very similar. Like the sprite shows up of the summon, and then they do their move. There's like no animation to it at all.
Like it's
almost like it's almost like Pokemon in that way, where like the move happens and the animation for the move happens, but the sprite isn't involved in the animation at all. Right. It's like Ifrit shows up and then
he moves up and down and
it's just this Ifrit shows up and then the monster catches on fire and that's it. Like there is no like full animation to it, and it just
disconnected.
It would have been super easy to just show Ifrit doing the move, like they do in other games. It wouldn't have been that difficult, but no, they didn't do that. And then obviously I don't like the chibi characters. We talked about that.
Have you noticed occasionally the polygons in like their makeup would disappear as they were like fading after dying? Like I think,
the enemies?
Yeah, I think someone's dress disappeared at one point. I was like, oh.
I didn't notice that. Yeah. They must have a layer timing.
I'm guessing.
It disappearing animation.
It was a lot, and it wasn't like the whole thing. It was just like parts of them would just disappear as they were dying.
I gave it an 8 out of 10 for graphics.
I give it a 5.
Which I'm kind of surprised I gave it an 8.
Too. I felt like this game to me was just, it was just average. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good.
Yeah,
it was
like
just,
overall, everything was kind of like that. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe I'm going to drop my score a little bit. Because after talking about it, an 8 is way too high.
So you're going to drop it to?
I think I'm going to drop it to a 6. I know it's huge. I don't want to just drop it 1 point. Because there was a lot of aspects to it that could have been a lot better. But, I mean, it goes back to, there was a lot of aspects of it that were really good, too. Like, the whole outfit thing that was probably too much focus on. It was probably too much of a good thing. I'm going to go with 6. I'm going to bring it down 2 points. It doesn't affect, honestly, I'm going to tell you right now, spoiler alert, it doesn't affect the overall score of it at all. So, we're going to bring it down to 6. 6. So, let's talk about the gameplay.
Okay.
I actually think I had the least amount of problems with the gameplay.
Yeah, I have to say that it was kind of fluid in spots, actually. I felt like the dungeons and stuff, with the guide, of course, because I needed help, but I felt like I flew through it. It was just kind of fluid. Everything was kind of laid out fairly nice. There wasn't a whole lot of, like, glitchy stuff as far as graphics, I guess, is concerned. Like, it was just a pleasantly easy game to...
The dungeons were laid out significantly better than Final Fantasy II. You could actually see kind of where you were going and which way you needed to head in order to, keep up. I think the monster encounter rate was way too high.
Really? I felt like there was barely any... Like, I felt like there would be times... I felt like every few steps was not a monster like how I felt with the first two.
Oh yeah, the first two was really bad. This one was better than that, but I still think it was too high.
I disagree.
Like,
I thought it was much better.
I don't want to, like, I want to be able to get through a room in a dungeon with, like, maybe 2 battles.
I felt like that was my experience, honestly, through the whole thing.
Really?
Yeah. There might have been, like,
know.
a dungeon or 2, but that's how I felt. But, I am gonna say, it does seem like I had, like, a different experience with just how things flowed with each time I booted up the game.
Yeah.
Like, one thing would be a little better than the other. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Each time you booted up, like, different aspects loaded.
Yes. I don't know.
Like, because when we were playing, you were saying that you were getting a totally different set of enemies than you were before. I
wasn't even running into some of these enemies because I had to backtrack a little bit. And yeah, we ran. Granted, this dungeon we ran through was very short, but to not run into some of these enemies is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does seem like I was just having little bits of different experiences here and there.
I liked the job system. I didn't use it. But I liked it. I liked the concept of it.
That's to our own fault, though, that we didn't use the job system very well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I completely agree. Our own laziness is a factor in this. At least that's how I describe it. The game has one big beneficial glitch that we exploited the crap out of. And it's simply just that you can item duplicate. And it's a well-known glitch that honestly, I think I would have performed the glitch on accident had I not known about it ahead of time. Basically, the items in your first top 2 slots, you can just duplicate the crap out of. And this goes for any in-battle use items.
So you can't duplicate like weapons and stuff
or armor or anything.
As long as you can use them in battle and some
you can duplicate
them. You can duplicate them.
And this makes the scholar the most powerful class in the game, at least in my opinion. It's the easiest to level up. It's the most beneficial because every item that you use as a scholar is enhanced. So, like, you use, like, Chocobo's Wrath, which does flare. You get that, like, super early in the game, and then it's, like, 9999 damage all the way through the game, and you're pretty much set. So, it's definitely a cheat, though I don't consider it a cheat because it's an in-game glitch. So...
we used it!
Yeah,
also,
I don't feel bad. Yeah, agreed. So that said, I still want to talk about the job system. So the job system is really cool in that there's so much flexibility in how you play. But I have a problem with job system games because I have no idea how to play the game.
That is the fault.
Like, I have to figure it out on my own. I have no idea.
They don't explain it very well. And there's so many different jobs.
Yeah, I know.
It's almost too many. And this game, which should also be put under the gameplay, I don't know if it's good or bad, but the game is short.
Yeah,
it's very short. My time with level grinding and whatnot was like a few minutes short, short of 24 hours, which is kind of short to me.
Did you happen to take a picture of your gameplay? Or of your...
yeah, I did.
I was at 29 hours and 4 minutes.
I was at 23 hours and 56 minutes. Granted, I guess in our defense, we had the scholars that really pushed our gameplay faster. Maybe this is more of a 35-hour game.
Maybe, yeah. I agree. I agree with that.
But I still feel like it's not enough time to explore all of these jobs.
There is kind of a double standard to the job system. Yeah, it's nice because there's so many options, but you don't get the last set of jobs until the very end of the game. And then you still have to level up the jobs, so what's the point? It's kind of goes back to the other 2 Final Fantasy games where you still have to, Final Fantasy 2 specifically, you still have to level up your magic to be able to use it. So what's the point? I don't understand.
For me, I kind of got stuck. And I'm gonna kind of segue to a little bit. I got stuck with this part fighting, it was called a Garuda, and it was a boss. And the scholars at the time did not have a high enough item usage, so I thought. So I ended up leveling up my Dragoon, which helped significantly. So I can see where certain jobs would be helpful for different areas. But to segue into the item descriptions here, I had no idea which one, like, they kind of view clues which item is better than the other, because they're like, deals moderate fire damage, deals intense fire damage, and then a couple of them it's like, I don't actually know. So I ended up getting stuck at this boss. This is why I couldn't make the 1 month. This is why I got put off, because I was stuck so hard. And it was because I was, for one, using the wrong kind of item. If I had just been going through using different items, I would have been so much better off.
Yeah.
And after that switch, after I realized that there was these different items that were much better, I flew through the game.
Yeah.
Like, it was significantly easier after that.
Yeah, so, I had a moment of the same thing. Like, I was using something that was like, it deals ice damage, and then I got another item that also dealt ice damage, but it said like does intermediate ice damage. I'm like, oh well, this one must be better. So I started using that one, and it was a little bit better. And then I started to catch on to the phrasing, and it's like, okay, well, I need to find the ones that are using you know significant ice damage instead or whatever. So, yeah, I kind of caught on to that early.
The last dungeon, I guess technically, there's no save for these bosses. I have a severe problem with that, which is why we're up at almost 3 a.m. doing this. There is no save. You can't save it after you fight. You can't
save it, and you can't go back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're hosed until you either die or you beat the game. And the difficulty level is significantly higher for the last... There's 4 sub-bosses before you get to the final boss. And then you have to fight the final boss. All on one, walkthrough.
And so you have to go through your last dungeon, get to this place where you fight the 4 bosses, and go through a second dungeon. It's really 2 dungeons in one, and you can't save.
I know.
It's
bad. It's so bad. I had a lot of... I flew through the game until the final dungeon, and then I was on the final dungeon, I swear, for way more time than I should have been. And that's probably where my 29 hours came in, because I think I was at, 24 or 25 or something like that, and I realized that I was significantly underleveled for fighting these final bosses. There was no way I could do it. So I backed out of the whole dungeon thing, and I did a bunch of the extra dungeons to get Odin, and I got Bahamut, I think. So I was able to get those, but then I still had to level grind for the longest time. And a lot of that time, I mean, I'm at 29 hours. A lot of that time was spent in front of the TV, just trying to level grind and not always paying attention to my game. So that happened. But yeah, I mean, that last dungeon, significantly higher difficulty level. And then the final boss, for me, was a breeze. And then when we played with you, we couldn't figure out why it was so easy for me until we started looking at some of the items that I had equipped. And found out that the diamond... What were they? The diamond bracers?
They absorb lightning.
They didn't absorb it. They just deflected it or nullified it or whatever.
And the Cloud of Darkness uses lightning, and it attacks each and every one of them. And yeah, the bracers was making it so that there was no... And that was one of the things that was killing me the quickest, because it was hitting all of them.
It was hitting all of them, and it was cutting their damage in a quarter at least.
I just don't understand how that attack for one character would do 3 digits, and then another time it would do 4.
When your stats are all the same.
Yeah.
I know, I don't understand that either. I don't know if there's a chance factor in there. There probably is. Some sort of luck factor in, the character stats that...
percentage somewhere.
Yeah, that affects how much more damage one character gets over another. But still, yeah, I mean, it's
The
it's
equipment,
crazy.
though, it made the difference. And I was reading online because we are trying to figure this out. And a lot of people were saying, well, you're going to want to be, around maybe closer to 60. And we were like 50.
Well, and I knew that when I fought these guys, Cerberus killed me like 5 times, at least 5 times. I want to say more like 9 to 10 times, but at least 5 times.
I died like once, I think.
And I could not beat him until I had the perfect strategy down. Now, once I had that done, then the final boss was a cakewalk. And now, when you played, Cerberus was super easy for you, and the final boss was super difficult.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what is the difference? So once we started looking at the items, it's like, well, crap, the only way to do this now is to go all the way back and pick up that stuff and go through the dungeon again, which is what we ended up doing. And thank goodness you did, because
it made the world difference.
And I mean, it maybe added an extra half hour or an hour to what we otherwise would have been doing.
Right,
but
leveling up, yeah.
I mean,
and
it
worked. Leveling up by the end, it would have taken a lot. I think I would was giving a rough count of like at least like 10 enemies, to like 10 encounters of 2 enemies to level up once.
Yeah. It would have taken me all night to level up to be at like level 60. So one last thing.
Did you rate your gameplay?
I did 6 out of 10.
Oh my gosh, I gave it a 5.
I really thought that all of the vehicles were really funny.
Oh yeah.
I listed them here. We have the canoe, we have the first airship, we have the first airship that runs into the rock and then you can't use it anymore. Then we have a boat that turns into a flying boat. And then Sid gives you a new airship that's really fast, which then turns into a submarine, and then you get the Invincible. Not to mention chocobos.
You didn't mention the one that one of them gets shot down again. I think that's your second one.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, I think that was that was the boat, the flying boat.
You destroy a lot of airships in this.
Yeah, I know.
Like, one is one thing, but the second one...
I know, and it was like... I couldn't believe when I was on an airship and I was only like 2 hours into the game. And I'm like, yes! Open world! And then I started flying around. I was like, nope, you can't go through these rocks.
Why are they perfectly fine with running this airship into a freaking mountain?
I don't know! Well,
how is it safe?
Sid put the rammer on it, remember?
Oh, that's right.
So it's okay.
It's not safe if your airship's destroyed.
I know.
It was never safe to begin with.
I know. Oh, man. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. So, let's talk about music. Really, my favorite song was the final boss music.
Yeah.
I did notice that they kept a lot of the music from the original Final Fantasy III. That said, it's still not that great.
One of the songs, I don't forget what it's called and where it is, but it's either for Doga or Une or both, but it actually plays in Final Fantasy IX as kind of a teaser, and I like that
You were telling me that this game takes a lot of references, or 9 takes a lot of references from this game.
Yeah, it takes quite a few references from a lot of games, of at least the first 1 and 2, and this third one. But yeah, this the music, it does play one of those songs, and I was like, oh, I know this song.
Yeah, I mean, that's really all I had to say about music. I don't remember any of the songs other than, the typical Final Fantasy stuff.
What I have written down is, for good, few songs memorable. The bad, most songs not.
Yeah, that's really how it is. I mean...
It's okay. Yeah, it's not good, but it's not bad.
The final boss music was awesome. And,
it was really good.
But we had to listen to it today 5-6 times. So, no. Overall score, my overall experience, I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Mine was 5.
Definitely not my favorite Final Fantasy game. There should have been more of a story. There should have been more of a backstory to our characters. I really didn't like the chibi style. I really wish that they would have just remade it with the old 8-bit graphics.
Yeah.
I would have been way happier with that. Maybe enhance the battle system a little bit, make it a little more faster than the original. From what I've heard, the original is super slow, kind of like the first 2 original Final Fantasy games.
I think this would have been received better as it was, instead of releasing it with the graphics. The
Oh,
older
yeah.
graphics.
Yeah, I agree.
I gave it a 6 out of 10, and the only reason why I didn't give it a 5 out of 10 is because I just liked it a little bit more than 1 and 2, because 1 and 2 I kind of felt like was all the same. I didn't really enjoy them that much, but they were okay. Or at least this one, to me, I think you were bored of this one more than I was.
Oh, yeah. I was done with this game really, really fast. I was really done
I think
with it.
it helped for me is I had played this a little bit in the past, so I kind of knew what I was expecting, and I think I enjoyed it more because I knew that there was a lot of allusions to 9.
I had already played this all the way through once, and I remember nothing of it.
You've blocked it.
It was completely brand new to me, it seemed like. I think Final Fantasy II had a better story. I think Final Fantasy I was more memorable, and Final Fantasy III could have been just lost to history, and I wouldn't have cared. That's how I feel. That's my honest opinion of Final Fantasy III.
If you could slide this into Final Fantasy I slot, I would be okay. You could just get rid of 1, and I will be okay with this being 3.
So yeah, I think I'm gonna rank my games so far. I think Final Fantasy I is better than. Well, no, I'm gonna say 2 is my favorite of the 3.
The first 3.
The first 3. 2 is probably my favorite, followed by 1, followed by 3. Just 3 sucked.
2, 3, and 1.
All right.
So yeah.
So my final tally is 27 out of 50.
26 out of 50.
So that gives us a 53 out of 100, and that does not even give us an F. It gives us a 0.
I mean, to me, I understand why this is an F, but I feel like it was just half of 100. It was just okay. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know. It's just...
Sorry.
Games that can't at least get a C, just...
I know. I don't know. This one... I feel bad for dogging on it, because it's not like I hated it, but it was not enjoyable, I guess, really is. What was enjoyable did not make up for the unenjoyable
I
parts.
liked that it was on the handheld. I liked the portability of it, but it's not something that I would just like sit and play for hours on end.
I'm someone who falls asleep so easily, and with this being boring game, at the end of the day, after taking care of a baby and working, it was so hard to beat.
Yeah, I understand completely.
I think at one time my husband looked over and I literally was sleeping, like my head down, and the game was like slightly off of my hands, like on the pillow, like me just sitting there, with my hands out. Yeah, good times.
Nice. Well, it's done.
Out of the way.
It's done. We beat it.
Ready for the next Final Fantasy.
Yeah, Final Fantasy IV. We can play Final Fantasy IV on so many consoles. It's crazy. So we can play Final Fantasy IV on the Super Nintendo as Final Fantasy II. Again, stupid story, never mind. We could play it on the PSP. They released it on the PSP as like a collector or an anniversary edition or something. We could play it on the DS. Oh, can you play it on the mobile phone too?
I believe so. I could be wrong, but no, maybe not.
They re-released it on the DS with like the enhanced graphics. I'm not playing that version.
Don't believe it.
I have it. I'm not gonna play it. I'm probably gonna play it on the Super Nintendo because I have the actual Super Nintendo cartridge. So, anyway, all that said, we're not going to be playing Final Fantasy IV for our next podcast episode. Instead, we are going to be playing Pokemon Snap. Yay. So that's going to be awesome. Now, before we get off, let's talk about our Thrift Shop game. Oh, it is on the...
the iPhone.
Nice. Is it the chibi characters?
Yeah, it is.
Well, then I'm not playing that one either.
But it's there.
So let's talk about our Thrift Shop game. Today, we played Sneak King for
another
the Xbox.
Disappointment.
This is our first Xbox game that we've played on Zap Night ever.
It's because we weren't Xbox people growing up.
I know. I mean,
not that I have a problem with Xbox, but I'm just...
If there's a game that's either on Xbox or PlayStation, I'm going to go towards the PlayStation version. The biggest reason why I have Xboxes is because of the exclusive games. So there are a few exclusive games that I specifically hunt down and will play for their exclusivity. So anyway, Sneak King I got at a thrift shop for $2.99. I think that's overpriced now that I've played it.
2006.
2006 game.
That means our game we just played came out a year before Sneak King. There's no excuse.
Yeah, agreed. This game, I believe, was some sort of promo thing for Burger King. They released at least 3 promo games like this. I have all 3. I don't know if they made more than that, but I know that they have 3.
One?
I don't know of the 3.
I
Maybe
mean,
they released them all at the same time.
It's a promo game, I guess. So
I mean, it was bad. I was gonna say it wasn't that bad, but no, it was bad.
I think we just wanted to have high expectations. That was.
I think it would have been more fun if the first level wasn't like this lumberyard.
It's not a level. It doesn't even go farther. Oh, I guess it does because it shows you outside of.
Yeah,
Barbie's
that's
house.
what I wanted. I wanted to be out in like a neighborhood sneaking around.
Barbie's house right there.
Oh yeah, it totally is. But yeah, I wanted to be like in like a neighborhood, sneaking around at night and jumping up on people. That's what I wanted.
Still could. It's just
what I was looking forward
video
to.
Game.
So anyway, this game, your job is specifically to sneak up on hungry people and surprise them with food.
It's the
you can't get if you get caught. You can't give them food, and I don't know why.
This is the employee training game that they have now. It's the learning modules have really changed.
So if I go around and I'm just like, I'm so hungry.
There's the king.
Where is he? He jumps out of a garbage can. Yeah, I don't know. It was just the controls were wonky.
OSHA violations.
The surprise feature sucked.
It was bad. It was just bad. The controls.
The graphics were okay, honestly. They weren't that bad. There were a few like wonky things where like there was an open door and the king had to like shut the door and then open it back up to go inside.
I don't want to be this person, but I felt like the font they chose to read your instructions was bullcrap.
Yeah, sometimes they are. What was
they were trying to be fancy because it's the king, I think, but
oh yeah,
it was just it was blocky and closed. The kerning, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just. I don't know. This game, I should not have, but I had high expectations.
I was looking forward to this game because it's so weird and it's so like creepy that you got to sneak up on people.
You initially got this game and the disc wasn't inside.
Yeah, I was
so disappointed.
I know, me too. Me too. I think I got it and there was like, I don't know, Rocky or something inside instead of Sneak King. And I was like, oh man, dang it.
The only way this experience would have been better is if we had Burger King.
That's true. We should go. Oh no, we can't because they're closed.
Oh.
It's 3:00 in the morning right now. Can't believe that. I know. You may as well just stay the night at this point. Yeah, next podcast episode is going to be for Pokemon Snap. We are going that we shouldn't have any problems beating this in a month. And yeah, we just got done doing 30 games in 30 days like stream. We didn't actually make it through the 30 days, but anyway, you can see some of those like Thrift Shop games for the PS2 on our YouTube channel. Please go over to our YouTube channel and subscribe over there. I really want to get 100 subscribers so that I can have a domain on there. That would be awesome. So if you guys could help us out there. We also put all of our podcast episodes on our YouTube channel. So if you want to have visually play them or on your computer in some way, you can go there. Obviously visit our website for everything we got going on, zapnight.com. And yeah, I guess we will see you guys next month.